And so you think they're actually preventing the therapies until everyone's infected, and then once they're infected, the vaccines will come out and people will die from that, and that will cover up all of the corruption that's gone on in the vaccine industry for the past 40 or 50 years?
Yes, because they'll say they died of COVID-19 and not of the vaccine injury, which is denied, or ME, which is strongly associated with the gamma retroviruses that came from the contaminated blood supply and the vaccines for the last 30, maybe even 70 years since the first cases in the US in 1934, as we learned that polio, the enteroviruses that cause polio, passed through mouse brains, picked up mouse cancer causing and neuroimmune disease causing retroviruses. And then later on, when we cultured these live viral vaccines like MMR, like polio, these RNA viruses, we culture them in animal cells, including the same Vero monkey kidney cells where we get, SARS-CoV-2 and SIV, the ancestor of the monkey version of HIV, Mason Pfizer monkey virus, which is a horrible virus of the gamma retrovirus family. And these cause profound immune dysfunction and immune deficiencies. And those are characteristics of the ones that these patients have. And so they will be, the first to die from the vaccine, and especially if the vaccine is given after the infection. And the data are clear about that in every other case of SARS or MERS vaccine development. And so it actually drives the disease and the death.
That is a dark, dark scenario. And I was on a call with Robert Kennedy Jr. this week, and I got a degree from MIT, and I'm familiar with the scientific method. And when he started explaining some of the testing or lack thereof of vaccines, it blew me away. And then when he talked about the lack of liability for these companies, I was again surprised. And then the lack of effectiveness. And I got a 101 course in vaccines and the industry of, and I was appalled. I mean, my jaw was kind of open because I just assumed it would be tested like any other drug, but it seems like it's not. And also, he went ahead to say, look, Brian, I'm not anti-vaccine. Just like when I'm fighting against mercury in the ocean, I'm not anti-fish. You've said you are not anti-vaccine. Maybe you can comment on some of my observations.
Yeah, absolutely not. I'm not anti-vaccine. And since 1980, when I developed and was part of the team that used the first immune therapy, that was interferon alpha, type 1 interferon, as a treatment for infection-associated cancers and leukemias, that's the definition of vaccine. So for the rest of my career, I've believed and I've made drugs and therapies based on the idea that you can educate the immune system to prevent or treat infectious disease or cancer. That's the definition of a vaccine. So what I'm against is the fact that in all of those immune therapies that I've developed, all of those natural product-based therapies that we've developed over my career of 40 years, the testing is extensive. The testing is extensive as double-blind, placebo-controlled studies for safety. Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Anytime you add a drug to a protocol, you have to test each drug individually and then the combination. And it takes years. First is the safety trials where you do accelerated doses, things like that. You accelerate to the level of toxicity. Not a single study has been done in that regard for 36 years in the vaccine program with anything on the schedule. Things are added every year. The combination's not tested. And more important, the development, the manufacture of the vaccines. You might think if you're getting a shot, let's just take, for example, Pediarix, which has hepatitis B, diphtheria, tetanus, acellular pertussis, and IPV vaccines, the injectable polio vaccine. That's 6 antigens in a single shot. if you co-develop them together and you purify all the garbage, that could be a safe vaccine. But they're not purified together. They're manufactured individually and they're combined. So you add the toxins, you add the contaminants, and it's overwhelming. That program that Bobby Kennedy referred to, the National Vaccine Injury Compensation Act, generated the compensation program. And for the last 5 years, Dr. Rossetti and I have served as expert witnesses showing how the vaccines cause the injuries that we're seeing in the susceptible children and in the susceptible elderly. Things like dying suddenly of cardiac arrest 24 hours after an influenza shot in an 80-year-old man. Well, the injuries that we see are the same injuries, the same alterations in gene expression, the same lack of antioxidant protection, the same mitochondrial dysfunction, the same cytokine storm. And those are what we write, and that's the way we write the reports. And we're called idiots because they said there's no evidence of that. These aren't systemic. They have local inflammation and nothing else. And yet then we see with COVID-19, what does the coronavirus cause? It causes mitochondrial dysfunction, a cytokine storm, a depletion of glutathione, oxidative stress, levels of ferritin, iron in the blood, that we're supposed to believe this coronavirus is causing that. And it's exactly what the vaccine injuries are in our experience over the 5 years. And that's why I say this is a big cover-up, because essentially nobody will be exposed in a natural way to the SARS-CoV-2, but many will be said to die of COVID-19 that had nothing to do with SARS-CoV-2 and everything to do with other environmental toxins and in immune compromised people. And primarily those people have been given vaccines over the past decade, severely compromising their immune system.